Welcome back to another podcast episode. Today I'm going to be talking about, it's a follow-on episode from my birth story. So I shared last week my 3-hour unmedicated home birth story, which resulted in quite literally my dream birth. And I thought, why not share with you how I actually prepared for that birth to go the way it went, knowing that you can do all the preparation, you can have the perfect mindset going into birth, and it doesn't actually promise you a perfect outcome. Although having the education, doing the things, it's going to prepare you for something more aligned with what you're wanting, rather than just, going into it without any awareness. It's kind of like anything, like if you were to start riding a bike and you'd never ridden a bike before, just jumping on the bike and trying to understand how to balance and push the pedals, it's probably going to be a bit harder than if you watched someone get on that bike and take off on that bike, if that makes sense. So this is exactly why I went into it prepared. And I mean, I am definitely very type A in the sense where I love to really have an understanding of things. When I get passionate about things, I go so deep. I almost educate myself to the qualification of a bloody university degree, because I just get so hyper fixated on it. And I guess I did that a bit with birth, but it really paid off, and I just want to share with what I did, because I feel like it could really support you, especially if you are someone who, you're going into birth and you're fearing it, whether it's your first, second, third, fourth time going into birth. Maybe you haven't actually ever had the time or taken the time to prepare yourself properly, and this could just be that shift for you to have a different experience, especially if you're not wanting to sort of delve into working with someone. You can kind of do these things on your own, I guess. So the first thing I did was I explored my mindset and my limiting beliefs. This was done through a lot of journaling and just asking myself questions like, what do I believe to be true about birth? What have I been told about birth? How do I feel about birth? When I check in with my body, how does it feel when I'm visualizing birth? And really just taking that time to be intentional with, this is how it's feeling in my body. What can I shift? What's coming up? And for me, I actually didn't really have much fear around the whole giving birth thing. I definitely don't feel like I took on the classic, how it's portrayed in movies, and your waters break and then you're in pain and all that. I feel like probably from a lot of the work I'd done in the years leading up to falling pregnant, in understanding my hormones, understanding my cycle, and knowing that, our whole lives we're told periods suck and should be painful. And I knew how untrue that was just from working with women with that I guess it almost reprogrammed my mind to not believe that about birth, I guess. So for me, a really big thing that I had to anchor in on was more around the fear of surrendering and being held, and the fear of letting go, because I was actually really scared of letting myself go. Oh my gosh, if I'm not independent and I have to lean on my midwife or my partner, who does that make me? That was a lot of the work that I had to focus on personally, not so much the fear around my body actually doing what it is built to do. So I explored a lot of that, and I had a lot of conversations with my partner. I had some conversations with my midwife, and I just really I guess was affirmed from both of them that it's all good. I can let go, I can make noises, I can poo myself, I can do whatever is needed to bring my baby into this world safely. And yeah, I guess having those conversations, writing those things down, writing myself letters, and just really exploring that really helped in solidifying, for sure, it is safe to surrender. My body is built to birth. I can do this. Women have been doing this forever, all the things. The second thing that I found so beneficial, and I think this honestly was huge, bigger than I realized while doing it, was listening to affirmations every night on a really low volume or just in headphones, going to sleep. I would listen to that was like a hypnobirthing track, and it was actually in a book that I borrowed from the library, and I really wish I could remember what the book was called. I think it's honestly just called like hypnobirthing something. It's a popular hypnobirthing book, and it comes with like a free audio track that you can download onto your phone. There's also a meditation that it comes with, but the actual audio track of the affirmations, that's just all I really anchored into. I didn't have much care of like the visualization part of it because I was kind of already doing that on my own. But the affirmations, I think it went for like maybe 9 minutes or maybe something like that. Listening to that on a low volume so that my unconscious, subconscious mind was soaking in those beliefs as I was falling asleep, I think honestly played such a huge role, especially because I was listening to the exact same one every single night. And I think I started this probably quite early on in my pregnancy. I would say I was reading a lot in my first trimester. And then I think I probably did start the affirmations maybe around like the 16-week mark, if not earlier. Not saying that you need to do it for that long. It honestly probably doesn't make much of a difference if you did it for a month versus like 3 to 6 months beforehand. But I actually really think this had a huge role on when I was in labor, and my brain would try and default to like anything of like, you can't do this or whatever, because of course that happens, right? Even if you go into it with the strongest mindset, it's still going to waver. You're still going to be challenged. There were moments where my partner had to be that anchor for me of, you're doing this, you're good, like I'm here, you're doing this, like you're good, whatever. But I really think that my like baseline was definitely more of a like, I'm good, I've got this, than it was of a doubt and a like, I can't do this, if that makes sense. Like, I only really remember one main time that I fully verbalized that I was actually like, I can't do this, and my partner pulled me into line and was like, you're doing it, like you have no choice, like lovingly. And other than that, I don't really remember my birth and labor being like, I don't remember focusing on like, oh my God, this is so hard, I can't do this. Like, it wasn't like that for me. And I really think that affirmations really, really helped, because my actual like, baseline of beliefs was not like limits. It was, of course you can fucking do this. The third thing was I went to a pelvic floor physio, which I have spoken about this in a few episodes, but I just really think this is so like invaluable, going to have that support externally if it is something that you can do, to like understand your pelvic floor, understand how to breathe properly with your body. And I guess this also ties into like the pelvic floor down training, which I was doing every single night leading up to birth from about 20 weeks. Because, you know, a lot of the time we are like very much moving through life in like a very like chronically stressed state. And in that we're not breathing properly. Our diaphragm isn't like contracting and releasing and relaxing properly. So going to a pelvic floor physio, someone who could tell me, okay, we're overactive here, we're underactive here, we need to relax more here, like all of the things, and like actually assessing my body and allowing me to also feel so empowered by, wow, there are so many little muscles down here, there's so much going on that I just didn't have like a full awareness of. Now I do, and I can connect down with my pelvic floor, with my abdominals so much easier. And it honestly helped so much in the birthing process, because I knew almost how to anchor into my lower abdominals when I was pushing Kodak. And it was like, I don't know, I really think it's like an invaluable thing to do, is going to a pelvic floor physio, because you're just going to have such an understanding of your body. You're going to know whether, you know, your body feels safe to open, or whether your body is, you know, holding on to like a lot of tension, and like how to like shift that, I guess. And like, I didn't do any perineal massage, because when I actually looked into the study, I didn't believe that it actually showed much evidence of actually changing the outcome. It's honestly more of a mindset thing, doing the perineal massage, and it can reduce 3rd and 4th degree tears. But if you look at the study, it's only done on like, I don't know, I can't fully remember right now, but it's not like a very good study to be basing that's something so necessary to be doing off. So I guess seeing the pelvic floor physio, knowing what was going on with my own body, and having that like, that just like, no, that connection, like so invaluable. And then the next one I have is I actually went and saw a she does yoni mapping. So it's something where she does pelvic floor, like yoni massage. But she really works a lot with pregnant women because it supports, if you understand what's going on and like the clock of your pelvic floor, you can tune into it just the same as seeing the pelvic floor physio. But I guess this is more of a spiritual / holistic approach. I saw Andrea from Secrets of the Honey Tree in Yamundi. She's actually like, her and another lady actually like created this whole modality and they teach it across Australia. And I say this about everything, but I really think this played a huge role as well, because I was in a safe space being held and I was able to explore my pelvic floor and like as a clock. So she would like just lightly press on each like number on the clock, and we could feel if there was potentially like a trauma I was storing there, or potentially some tightness, or if it was numb, or if it was painful. And we were just working around my pelvic bowl. And I think I had that 2 times. That's all. And I am not kidding. The first session, I was shit scared. I was like, am I really going to get a massage in my vagina? Like, am I doing this? Of course you're fucking doing this, Tanika. Like, of course you would find a modality like this. But honestly, going in there, and it was just like such a safe space. I had seen Andrea a number of times leading up to this, of just getting like a normal pregnancy massage. And so I felt comfortable and safe. And like, I also knew of her being like just a therapist on the coast, and I knew of her through other like therapists that I have networked with on the coast. So it wasn't like this random lady. Like, I'd known of her for years, and yeah. But anyway, I remember going in there and being like, am I actually fucking doing this? And then I did it, and I was like, that one session actually still to this day has changed so much for me in my life. I feel so much more empowered in my body. Something I've always struggled with was painful sex. It wouldn't matter how comfortable I was. It wouldn't matter anything. It was always something that I have struggled with. And after that one session, I am actually not kidding. I have never had painful sex again in my life. And it has been so healing for my relationship with my partner. It's been so healing for my relationship with myself, because like, I always had that underlying, what the fuck's wrong with me? And now it's like, I don't know, I was holding on to a lot of trauma. And it was funny because when we were working on it, it was coming to my head what I was holding in my pelvic floor. And as it was coming to me, and I would cry or I would voice it, it would just almost disappear. And it was just like the most wild experience. I can't explain it. I remember saying to Andrea, every single woman needs to experience this, because we hold so much in our bodies that we don't even recognize that we're holding. Like, I was holding on to things that I actually had completely forgotten about, but they were severely impacting my relationship to myself, and in a way my partner, I guess, because like he was always wanting, like, needing to hold that extra space for me when we were wanting to be intimate, because it wasn't comfortable for me no matter what we did, no matter what we tried. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, a little bit TMI there for you, but honestly, it made me feel so much more empowered, and like, okay, of course I can give birth without pain. I don't know, it was just like incredible, and I would highly recommend it. The last thing I have is, I had a plan without pressure to follow it. So I mapped out what it was that I knew I wanted, what I knew I didn't want. And it's so funny because a lot of the things I had on there, like, it just changes. And I think that's what was the best thing, was I had a plan and I had my midwife on board, sorry. My partner knew, and still I had my dream labor and birth. Although, for example, one of the things I was like, absolutely no cervical checks. Like, I'm not having a cervical check. I'm not open to it. Dilation, like that, it just doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't actually give you anything. It gives you in the moment how dilated I am, but it doesn't give you, a time frame of when the baby's coming, nothing. And I was like, there's just no need for that. Anyway, of course, I actually asked for one as soon as Megan arrived. I was like, please, can you do one? And like, I was fine, and it actually was really empowering because my baby's head was right there. And I was like, okay, great, I'm about to meet him. So that was funny. And another thing that what was something else that shifted on my plan? Oh my gosh, I can't really remember, but like, things just didn't go the way that I did sort of plan. But I think yeah, I'm like, what else? Anyway, whatever. I had a plan and I didn't have a pressure to follow it. So I knew what I wanted, but I also knew that things shift and change. Birth inevitably is a very like, it's an event that you can't really control. Like, it's all about like the surrender to your body and to whatever is actually happening and to how the baby would like to be born into this world. So yeah, having that plan, just having that education of like, okay, this feels good for me, this absolutely doesn't feel good with me or aligned with my values, and just knowing that that's there, and that like everyone who is a big part of your birthing team has that awareness. But if you change your mind, not like shaming, there's no like, oh, I said I didn't want this. Like, I could have been like, oh my God, like I said I didn't want the cervical check, like I can't believe I wavered on that. Like, no, like it felt good. Like I was just going with what my body wanted and needed in the moment. But I had a plan of if I'm, anyway, I don't need to keep going on about that. But this was like everything I feel like, well, the main things I did that really prepared me for the labor and birth that I had. So yeah, I hope this like helped you, just like, if you can take the time and if you're really wanting to try and maximize your chance of having your dream labor and birth as well. Exploring your mindset and limiting beliefs, listening to affirmations is super helpful. Going to see a pelvic floor physio or like some sort of therapist who can support you in understanding the anatomy of your body. Oh my gosh, I actually skipped this one, but breath work. I just realized, but yeah, breath work was a huge one for me. Definitely learning how to breathe, and like I kind of already knew how to breathe properly, but like really anchoring in on it and like ensuring that was a huge part of my daily routine. Also for like balanced and regulated nervous system, of course, and having a plan without pressure to follow it. So they're like the main things. And yeah, I also want to remind you, if you aren't following the podcast, if you could please click the follow button, because it helps my podcast to grow and to reach other mamas. And if you have a pregnant mama friend or someone who is pregnant, like a pregnant mama friend, like I just said, I would really appreciate you sending this through to her, because I feel like every woman deserves to have their dream experience, and yeah, this could potentially help someone. And if you are also interested in like that external support through your pregnancy to set yourself up for an incredible birth and postpartum, don't forget to reach out. Follow me on Instagram, Tanika Lace. I work with women closely to ensure that you also get to have an incredible experience throughout, from conception to postpartum. But I'll be back in your ears next week, and have an incredible rest of your day, mama.